Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Emily here. This week we are going to be talking about going to hair school as a non-traditional student, which is exactly what my scenario was. I was 28 years old when I started cosmetology school, and let me tell you, the things that I wish I knew before going into that experience, there's a lot. So I figured I would do you guys a favor, for those of you who are maybe entertaining the idea of going back to school, changing careers, thinking about maybe going to hair school, cosmetology school. This might be a long one, so I do have a bubbler here for a little caffeine and lubrication. Pretty much this video is going to be today how to become a hairstylist a little bit later in life versus of the traditional route where you're 18, you're fresh out of high school, and you head off to cosmetology school. I definitely had a completely different experience than that. I would say when I was about 19 and 20, I started to get really into doing my makeup, and that was when I started my YouTube channel. That long ago, I know, but you know, I was probably 19, 20, really starting to play around with makeup more, a little bit of hair here and there, mainly makeup though, of just starting to do makeup for friends, really doing makeup on myself a lot more. And then I would slowly get into hair a little bit more and more and trying out different products and different tools and things like that. And so I always knew that I loved makeup, but hair was just kind of something that, it's not that it didn't interest me, it just never crossed my mind that I should do it for a living, I guess. I wasn't that girl who's braiding her friend's hair or being obsessed with dolls and doing their hair or coloring my own hair. I was definitely not that type of girl. I was more throw my hair in a messy bun, do a full face of glam type of thing. And I feel like I started my YouTube channel back then for makeup. It was all about makeup, not about hair whatsoever. And I definitely tend to be more of a perfectionist. So I feel like that side of wanting to be perfect kept me from even pursuing anything because of the fact that I didn't know how to do hair. That in my head I was like, well, I can't go to hair school, I don't know how to do hair. When it's like, duh, you're gonna go to school for them to teach you how to do it. It's just terrifying to think about that, you know? With just doing kind of makeup for friends and family on the side, I worked a desk job for 9 years. And I think it's an interesting thing that I definitely want to touch on is my perfectionism. I think, you know, when I think back to the years when I first got into hair and makeup, why my brain never connected the dots and never was like, hey, you should go to hair, you know, you should go to cosmetology school. It was never a thought. And I think a lot of that had to do with my perfectionism, my traits to where I have to be perfect. Like, it actually drives me insane. I'm such a perfectionist. And I think in my head, I was like, I don't know how to do hair and makeup professionally. I don't know how to do that. I'm not gonna, no, I wouldn't be good at that. And the idea of not being perfect right away just like made my skin crawl. I couldn't, the idea of not being good at something bothers me to my core. And so I think for the longest time, I never even considered it, mainly because I was like, I don't know how to do hair. I don't know anything about lightening somebody's color or applying color or putting foil. I don't know anything about that. And which is such a silly thing to think about. Like, why didn't I understand that I would learn that at school? Like, you start somewhere. I just kept thinking that I couldn't go to, I don't know. It was just weird to think that I couldn't do hair as a career because I didn't know how to do hair. But again, you go to school for that. You know what I mean? Bizarre. But I know I can't be the only one in that, to where I know a lot of people don't even start things because of the fear of failing. I will tell you right now, you're gonna fail a lot in this industry. You every day have the opportunity to fail, and you probably will some days. That just comes with the territory. The age thing was definitely a factor because I'm alongside literal children. A 10-year age difference at that age from 18 to 28 is rather large. And if you're 18, you probably won't understand what I mean by that. But if you're 28, you 100% know what I mean by suddenly being immersed every day around 18-year-olds. It was rough. The first thing that I would recommend is first get all your ins and outs and do as much research as you possibly can on the hair industry. Go find a stylist that you feel comfortable with shadowing. I didn't get my hair done starting until I was in high school, later in high school. So it's a lot younger now. So I feel like younger girls understand the process more than maybe all that I did, because I really didn't start getting my hair done until I was like 19 regularly. Definitely do your research. Find a stylist that you could shadow under, and not apprentice or anything, but like literally just watch them. See if they'll let you just watch, be a little fly on the wall, You don't have to say anything. You can hand them foils and help out on a little bit, but watch what they do day in and day out. How do they interact with the guests? How do they formulate in the back room? Are they organized? Are they a mess? Do they work certain hours? Do they only do certain services? When do they eat? When do they use the restroom? What type of insurance and benefits do they have? How much time off do they take in a year? Do they have to do their own taxes? There's so many variables in this industry that you first need to just see, is this something I want to do? The talking with clients all day, the physical and mental workload is something that I don't feel like average person talks about. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, you do hair, you must have so much fun. That's a great, oh, so fun. Hair is hard. You need chemistry. You need a lot of knowledge, a lot of guts to just try things out. You need to remember things. You need to remember your client's name. You need to remember your client's husband's name. You need to remember, there's all these scenarios. Where do they work? How many kids do they have? What do they like to do for a living? If you're going to see these people every few weeks, you have to find a way to take in all that knowledge. So it's more than just hair. It's a whole cluster. Physical. What are you wearing? Are you going to get color all over your clothes? What do you anticipate wearing to work? Is it something that it's okay if you get color on it, or is it going to be something where you need 2 wardrobes, one for work, one for not at work, because doing hair can get messy? Use YouTube as a resource. YouTube is a great resource because so many other hairstylists have already posted videos of like a day in the life of a hairstylist. So let's say you don't feel comfortable or know anyone close enough that would allow you to just kind of shadow them for the day. Hopefully you could just find, maybe some resources on YouTube where you could watch a couple of videos of day in the life as a hairstylist, and hopefully they are authentic and real, and maybe that's something I could make down the line for you guys. So YouTube could be a great resource. Really understanding what it is that you'll be doing day to day, more than just the hair, because obviously you're going to go to hair school and they're going to teach you how to foil, how to cut, how to color, how to handle people, how to formulate. All these things you're going to learn at school. Things that you're not going to learn at school are going to be the things that actually affect you long-term, day-to-day, like inhaling products, inhaling chemicals, your wrists, your shoulders, your back, feet, your legs, pretty much your whole body, standing all day. Where are you going to work? Are they going to have great comfy pads? Are you going to be on cement? There's so many variables. Now we are all living in a pandemic. That's a whole other thing of working with the public when there's ever-changing scenarios. I don't want that to deter you, but that is definitely something that is different now. But again, talk to other hairstylists, get examples, get experiences, get information that will help you really make an informed decision on if diving into this industry is really meant for you. Yeah, just the long wear and tear on your body over the years, and mentally the draining, how some people, can you set boundaries? People can be rude and disrespectful. There's a lot of scenarios. So really just take your time before going into actually signing up for school to really just see if this industry and the job itself, because it's more than just cutting somebody's hair or applying a color to hair. It's way more than that, and every day can be different even though it's relatively the same. So yeah, just make sure you research what it actually would be like to be a hairstylist and just fully understand. I've seen a lot of people in just the short amount of time that I personally have been in the industry, and I've seen a lot of people burn out, not set boundaries, not be able to handle the physical and mental wear and tear on our bodies, and have to go and get another job. And so I would hate for somebody, one thing to go after a career change and maybe not be as happy with it as you thought, but it's another thing to go into a new career and be like, oh shit, I didn't know any of this was involved. Then once you understand what it would be like to actually be a hairstylist, you should go and visit schools. I am lucky enough to where I live, the state of Iowa actually requires the highest amount of hours to become a licensed cosmetologist. So it's not like you just go to school for a few years and you're done. You literally go to school clocking in each day until you reach a certain amount of hours. And Iowa just so happens to have the highest threshold for that. So the highest, minimum for graduation, which means where most prepared, I feel like. Go and research your schools and figure out what is required by the state or licensing in your state where you live. Where I live, I conveniently have a school that I was able to attend right in my town. I didn't have to move anywhere, I didn't have to travel anywhere, so I definitely know that this is an advantage, because I know that not most other 28-year-olds could just up and move and change locations in order to go to school. I'm very lucky in the sense that I had a school in my community that I didn't have to like move. Do your tours, talk to your instructors, just get to know kind of the community at the school to kind of understand what type of program do they do. I learned the Vidal-Sassoon methods for cutting, and then just like the latest trends for color. Figure out what color lines they use and just get more information that you can. Definitely figure out what scholarships you can apply for, financial aid, all of that stuff, because I know for me as a 28-year-old, I had to really get my ducks in a row financially because I owned a house and a vehicle. I was married, like these adult things that you can't just like, oh, I'm gonna just go to school. It's like, well, you have to find a way to still pay for school and the other things required in life, like a house and a car. Once I had nailed down where I was gonna go to school, I decided I was gonna do it. I was fully committed. It was time to actually commit to doing it. I had made a plan of how I was going to pay down all of my debt, and I had a plan on how I was going to support myself through school. I actually went and worked at Ulta all while I was at school, and additionally I worked as a receptionist at the salon that I now work at as a stylist. That would be my biggest recommendation right out the gate, is if you know of the salon that you want to work. I personally was already a client of the salon that I wanted to work at. Find that salon, make sure they have openings, because mine didn't, but love you, Court, she made room for me. Find a salon that you can reception at or start part-time somehow, sweeping hair, I don't care. Find a way to get your foot in the door while you're in school, because that will just make the experience a lot better. So I worked at Ulta, and then I worked as a receptionist at the salon that I now work at, and I made part-time incomes with school. It was a lot of work, and I was lucky enough to have a spouse who was working during all of this, so that definitely helped. I was not on my own. So financially, there was weeks where we were eating ramen and chili all week to cut budget, but it was one of those things where if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. So I worked at Ulta and at the salon as a receptionist, and it was really tough. It was really tough to go from school 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then straight to my second job or third job, and I didn't really get much time off. It was definitely worth it in the end because I ended up completing my 2,100 hours. Then I want to say maybe 13 months, so just barely over a year. And I'm so glad looking back that I just like powered through and did it not as fast as I could, but as fast as I could. I wanted to get to the point where I could just be behind the chair and make some money, because when you're in hair school, you're paying to do the services essentially. Research what school, research how to be a hairstylist and all that it entails, and then find how you are going to support yourself financially through school and what your plan of attack is. So obviously for me, I had 2 jobs that were part-time that I could just kind of fill in the gaps whenever I could, and I wasn't at school. And then I busted my butt through school. I paid attention, I showed up. I think I missed 1 day out of the entire year. And a lot of that does have to do with being older and taking it more seriously, spending 9 years in the wrong job before finally finding my passion. But it also is one of those things where you're as motivated as you are going to be at any age, whatever it is. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. I figured out my monthly expenses. I figured out what I would be making as far as my part-time income, figured out how long I could be in school for, and paid down the debt that I needed to, and got everything in order before I quit my full-time job, before I stepped into the start of school. Once that all happened, it took probably 2 years to get into place. So just know it's gonna take time, and that's okay. A lot of people will do it really quick. A lot of people will take longer. For me, it took about 2 years to get the things that I needed to get paid off, get my debt to income more of a balance as far as my monthly bills. Car, I paid it off. House, we got it to a point where our house was our only expense besides your day-to-day stuff, but house and phone, that was it. Paid off my car, did the things that I needed to do to get to a spot where financially we could just go down to one income and I could go to school full time. It took a couple of years, but it was well worth it. And then once you get to the point of showing up to school, commit. You have to commit. You have to realize that you're only going to get out of school what you put into it. You're only going to get done as fast as what you put into it. So for me, I wanted to learn everything I possibly could. I wanted to get done as fast as I could, and I wanted to just hit the ground running. So I picked up extra hours. I did the extra mannequin work. I studied my ass off. The saying really is true. Knowledge is power. And the more you know, the more confident you are going to be. You are eventually going to be a freshly birthed little baby deer that can barely walk. That's going to have to be on your own at the salon. And the more that you know, the more confident that you will be, the more that will relate to your clients, feeling secure and safe with you. And that will only perpetuate more people coming into your chair as you slowly grow and build your foundation of your business. Another tip as far as becoming a hairstylist later in life is stay away from the young girls and all of their drama. I tell you what, I really tried my best to not get wrapped up into the drama of cosmetology school as far as the whole school environment. Being an older person with a bunch of young little babies, it's just stay away from it. Stay away from the drama. It's great to build friendships at any age, and there are some of those girls that I really do value and appreciate, but the rest is bullshit. Honestly, just stay out of it. You're gonna be one of the older students. You're gonna be one of the older male or females there that is just worried about putting food on your table and making sure your mortgage gets paid, while the rest of them are worrying about what filter to use. So just, if I can give a huge note on advice, is just stay out of the drama. It's not worth it. Get in and get out, and none of that stuff will even matter anymore. And at the end of the day, you're on a completely different journey than somebody who's 18-year-old. If you're a 28-year-old, you've already experienced a lot. Not to say 18-year-olds haven't, but you're just on a different journey. So becoming a hairstylist later in life. For a long time, I felt like I was gonna be the one that was like trying to catch up and trying to stay relevant, or trying to get relevant, if that makes sense. And then after doing hair, I think it was my first year, that I kind of realized even though I'm new, I'm green, I don't have a ton of experience, I though learned the latest and greatest. I'm fresh off of school where they were literally teaching me how to do all of these techniques that were new or resurfacing. I didn't have to go seek that out at a show or a class. I was taught it as my base core fundamentals. And as I've gone further and further into the hair industry, and the longer I've done it, the more I've realized how important it is to stay educated. I learned everything that was cutting edge in school as my foundation of my knowledge, of my education. Hairstylists who have been doing hair for 10, 15, 20 years, they see a new trend, they have to go, how do I do that? And either learn on their own or seek out a class. You know, they have to find a way to figure it out and to learn it. That is another thing you'll probably realize as you start your journey as a hairstylist later in life, is that you're gonna learn the here and now, and that's pretty awesome. But also, there's gonna be a day where you don't know the newest cutting edge thing, and it's gonna be up to you to stay on top of that. Continuing your education is huge. That is probably one of the biggest things with being a hairstylist, is knowing that you will never stop learning and that you should never stop learning. And again, it comes back to knowledge is power. I want to be confident that no matter who sits down in my chair, they can say, I want this, and I can confidently know what they're asking for and how to achieve it. And the only way to do that is by going to class, staying up to date, watching your videos, following your content creators, staying in the game. The second that you just realize you're a know-it-all and you're comfortable and you have your clientele that books every 6 weeks is the second that somebody's gonna sit in your chair you've never done before, and you're gonna go, I don't know how to do that. And that's not a fun feeling. So I definitely would say that continuing education and continuing to learn and always challenging yourself, learning to be a hairstylist later in life, you're learning the here and now, so that is an advantage, but it's up to you to maintain that advantage. And then lastly, I just want to touch on timing. So there's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be an ideal, perfect window opportunity for you to quit whatever job you're working right now and go back to hair school. There's no perfect time. So you have to make the time. You have to figure it out. That's The hard facts, the hard truth. You have to get your shit in order, figure out, write it down. What do I want to do? Do I want to be a hairstylist? Yes. Okay. What are my first steps? What did Emily tell me in that video? Go talk to hairstylists, go shadow them, watch videos, get yourself involved in the industry and start to really figure out, is this something that you would like to do? And if it is, make a plan of action and do it. Like I said, it took me 2 years to even get to the point to where I could go to school. It took me 2 years. 2 years of just every day choosing to not buy something and instead put that money to paying off my car or this and that. Figure out what is in your way of achieving the goal of becoming a hairstylist and figure out how to get around those problems, how to solve the issues that are in your way. Figure out what are the steps that you need to do to actually achieve that goal, because you won't regret it if you've at least attempted it. And I'm sitting on the other side of many, many years saying, oh, I could never do that. I could never afford to go back to school. I could never afford to quit my job. I could never afford to start over. But I'm telling you, you can, and it's very, very, very possible. And I'm the result of that. I've done it, and you can too. If you work hard enough and you dream big enough, you can definitely do it, and you won't have any regrets if you at least give it a try. I hope this video was helpful for you. I have a lot of information on the topic, obviously, being that I myself was 28 years old going to hair school, and I've been in the industry for just a handful of years so far, and I'm so glad I did it, and I would do it all over again, knowing how difficult it was to end up here. And it's been so rewarding and so worth it for me and my family. It just feels really good to do something for a living that fully makes me happy and I enjoy. And I hope that if you are even the slightest bit interested in making a career change, not even to become a hairstylist, but just in general, that I hope you do it. But specifically, if you want to become a hairstylist and you've always thought about it, definitely start researching what it would take to get you there. And I wish you the best of luck. Comment down below if you have any questions, and it would be really cool if you could subscribe for future videos, and we'll see you in the next one.